Overview of the Family Ties Seminar. Hello, my name is Daniel Samos. And we created the Family Ties class about a year and a half ago, and it is an official Theta Healing elective class. And what we'd like to do today is just provide a basic overview of the class, touching on some of the the unique qualities of the class, the things that we feel really make it one of the a really very powerful class, and something that many people who have taken it have found very, very helpful for them in their Theta Healing work and practice and growth. This class began with the idea of answering a couple of basic questions. There was a sense that we had that we are so often influenced by the beliefs, the programs, the feelings of the people around us, and often on such a deep level that we may lose the ability to sort of distinguish between our feelings and our what we want to do with our life and what the people around us want us to do with our life. So like we may get into a pattern where we are trying to fulfill other people's expectations or to realize the goals that other people have had that we have sort of adopted. And so, whenever we're doing that, it sort of takes us away from, living true to ourselves. And so the idea behind the class was, to answer the question, how can I live true to myself? What do I truly want to do with my life? What are my true goals, my aspirations? And, ultimately in the process of answering that question, those questions, we become free. We sort of free ourselves from the obligation, the sort of being duty-bound to living up to other people's expectations, other people's dreams, and so forth. So how can I become truly free? And so starting with that question, we looked at sort of where the different influences that are acting on us, where do they come from? And, the more we thought about it, sort of the bigger the picture began, all the way, obviously we are influenced by the people around us after we're born, but the idea, well, we're probably picking up things from our parents, from the people around us, even before we're born, while we're still in the womb. And so again, to sort of reiterate, these influences, they really, on some level, they distract us, or they can distract us from our own divine timing, from the intention that we had when we sort of made the decision, when we intended to come into the world. And so the idea, again, is that by sorting through the different influences, the first step is really to recognize the influences that we have received or that we are receiving. And then once we recognize that, once we have sort of a conscious understanding of those things, we're then in a position where we can make a choice or a decision about whether, that's really the direction that we want to go in with our life. And so we can accept them, or we can say, thank you, no, and we can go in a different direction. So that's really where the freedom and the empowerment comes from, taking control of our life. So if you look at the various influences that are really sort of shaping our beliefs and our sense of identity, they come from, a number of different places. And, there's a slide here, and this isn't all of the places where we're influenced by. This is just, some of the representative sort of forces or shaping influences that we receive. And the idea again is to sort of to identify and strengthen and empower our own sense of identity of who we are, sort of in the context of all these different forces, these influences that have been come in that have, exercised some impact on our life. And so, and the exercises in the Family Ties class are tailored to addressing these various areas. So, for example, on the bottom right, we have experience in the womb. And so we developed an exercise, which basically takes you back to the time before you were born to recollect the influences that you were receiving, the sort of, the energy that your parents had, the energy that your mother, your father, any siblings, anyone else around had at that time, because often that's such a pre-conscious time where we're not able to filter out things that are coming in, even less able to filter than we are as young children. And so the things that we pick up at that time often become sort of a core part of the identity that we, sort of the person that we identify with. Although what we find through this exercise is that when you go back and you understand the influences that you're getting and you recognize where they're coming from, then it becomes possible to let go of them, to clear them. And then you go back and you go deeper to recollect, what was your intention? What was my intention in coming into this world? So it's a really very powerful exercise that people have had just remarkable experiences with. Another area is ancestors. This is sort of in the same, it's not really before and after, because the influences coming from our ancestors are, they're acting on us right now, even though the people may have been, several generations removed. But there was the perception that the insight that we receive lots of influences from people that we may never have met. And, in addition to the sort of genetic level, beliefs or programs, there could be very conscious things of, for example, someone wishing to pursue a particular sort of career or something like that. And they may have entrusted that wish to their descendants. And so we find ourselves in the position of sort of receiving these bequests to become a certain type of person, to pursue a certain type of vocation, and so forth, that may give us the idea, this is what I really want to do, without sort of recognizing where it's coming from. So this is another exercise where we go and we really make conscious, we identify the different sort of influences of that sort that are coming to us, from our ancestors. Parental influences, this is really, there is one exercise in particular that's very focused on resolving issues with one's parents. And so this is something that Vienna suggested at one point in a webinar. And so we took her suggestion and formulated it as an exercise to specifically resolve, issues relating to one's parents, resentment-type issues. And she really emphasized that it's just so important to address the issues with the parents, that we can be working on all these other areas in our life, but unless we take up the parent issues, we may not make a lot of progress. Put another way, if we're able to clear those issues, then we'll see dramatic changes across the board in, work, relationships, abundance, and so forth. So it's really key. The other one at the bottom, relationships. In a sense, all of these are relationship type of issues, but this is referring specifically to relationships with people that one may have been involved with, ex-partners, people that we may have some sense of obligation to. And so the idea is just to clear those relationships and, recollect our power from anyone that we may have left it with. So basically, this is sort of this is a sketch which is sort of diagramming some of the different sources where these influences are coming from, and also at the same time, these are activity. We have exercises in the Family Ties class which are specifically tailored to identifying and resolving things in these areas. What the Family Ties class, what all of the work in the class is geared toward is identifying and clearing multi-generational patterns. So, if you look at your family, you'll see that there are certain illnesses that repeat across generations, or there may be certain patterns of other kinds that repeat. And so, just like Vienna, when she healed her leg, she understood that as having, changed something not just for herself, but having changed a pattern in her family. And she talks about how she had two ancestors who had lost the use of the same leg, of the right leg, in generations past. So she talks about how by healing her leg, by receiving a healing, she was able to resolve that, not just for herself, but for her whole family. And so this is something that really, all of these exercises are geared toward ultimately identifying, resolving patterns, things that we want to, let go of, things that no longer need to hold on to. To give another example of something that we've had in the class, there was a woman taking the class who, when she looked at her family, she discovered a pattern of the first child born in a number of different sort of individual family units in her larger family, of the first child born dying very young. And so she worked on that, dug on that, and she, got down to, she understood that it came from some sort of, an agrarian religious type of belief that by sacrificing the firstborn, by, giving up an offering of the beginning, at the beginning of the season, you're able to secure a bountiful harvest, that you become more abundant. And so it was that was what she found as the belief underlying this pattern. And she was in the position where her first grandchild had just been born, and so she was very, had been very concerned that, this was going to happen again, that maybe they would lose the baby. And so this is an example of the sort of issues, the sort of the type of clearing that we were able to do in this class. The second point is really, we find that, many people, whether they're fairly new to Theta Healing or, they've taken all the classes and have a lot of experience, find that through taking this class they develop a better facility with Theta Healing, because the class consists of many, really original and innovative exercises. And so we're sort of combining the basic elements of Theta Healing in ways that you probably haven't seen before. And so it has a way of increasing one's sense, one's sort of facility with Theta Healing, one's grasp of how you can use Theta Healing in different ways. And also there are lots of ideas in the class that are specifically that you can take out of the class and put to work in your own practice, working on yourself, working with clients. A lot of very powerful techniques that are presented through the exercises. So we find that really everyone from people who are just, relatively new to Theta Healing to people who have been doing it for, years have found the class to be very valuable. And lastly, it's really all about learning to love and accept oneself. As we sort of resolve issues relating to our family, ultimately we're able to then accept ourselves to a greater extent. That we have the same patterns and tendencies and potentials in ourselves, and if we're able to truly embrace ourselves, then we become able to really exhibit, to manifest our fullest potential. And so it's about accepting ourselves, about loving ourselves, and empowering ourselves. And so that, in a nutshell, is the summary, the overview of the Family Ties class.
私がファミリータイズの説明をするときにこういう説明するんですけれど。
So when I present the Family Ties class, I often provide the following, I think, analogy to explain the process that we're working with. And that's to look at the self as an onion, to look at the self on the model of an onion. And at the center of the onion is your soul. It's like your core identity. And then, we're born into this world, and then, from our family, from society, we sort of accrete many different layers, build up on top of this, central core. And so these are like the layers of the onion that sort of build up and, get bigger and bigger is sort of the tendency. And so the work of this class is to sort of, go through, and, we look at the good things that we have. We look at the, negative things that we no longer need to hold on to, and sort of do an inventory of the different layers. And so in the process, this core, this sort of core identity, this soul-infused sense of who we are and our purpose is reborn, is regenerated, is enhanced. And so we've held Family Ties classes, maybe 20, 25, possibly 30 classes so far, and our experience has been that in a short period of time, it's just a 2-day seminar, we've seen so many students who have had just remarkable changes, have done just a great deal of clearing in a short amount of time. So please, we hope you take the advantage of the opportunity to take this class and really set out on your own life, on your true path in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.